Nonsense, episode 18. We're coming in hot with 3 cast members for episode 18. I'm Eric, joined as always by Kayla.
Hello.
And also joined by Ryan.
Hey guys.
Alright, so we are talking trailers, we're talking Godzilla vs. Kong, and we're just talking. But before we get to all of that, what's everyone been up to? What you been checking out lately, Kayla?
Nothing new besides trailers. I have just been watching Modern Family and playing Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, how about you, Ryan?
Other than Godzilla vs. Kong and looking at the giant library of HBO Max stuff, literally the same thing. And watching a bunch of new trailers, but yeah, that's about it.
I forgot about Godzilla. Yeah, we watched that.
Yeah, we did. We'll be talking quite a bit about Godzilla today, a little bit in our news section, and we're going to do a quick review as well, because that was the big release on the 31st, right, on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get to our news section first, and I wanted to start with E3. So E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, has been rebranded as the Electronic Entertainment Experience this year. They worked a lot on that name. It's going to be from June 12th to the 15th, and it's going to be a free virtual event this year. And they got some pretty decent, games industry publishers to sign up for it. The roster right now is Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, Warner Brothers Game, and Koch Media. I had to look up who Koch Media was, but they're known for like the Metro games and several others. They're actually a fairly large company. They have quite a few games under their umbrella, but I had to look that one up. I was like, it's spelled K-O-C-H, and I was like,
K-O-C-H.
Oh boy.
I'm glad you looked up the pronunciation.
Yeah, I did. I
reading
looked,
it in the script like, what's he gonna say?
I looked up the pronunciation because I was going to. Hey, it's Koch Media. You know, we got Koch Media on E3.
Let's go.
So I did want to have a little bit of a conversation about E3. I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I love checking out E3. I love checking out what they stream. And then I also like checking out all the coverage around E3. All the, podcasters that have shows or adjacent streams. Anything that's newly announced.
Reactions.
Yeah, you got all kinds of reaction videos. You got a lot of stuff. What's your relationship to E3, Ryan? Do you check it out every year? Or?
Same as yours, yeah. Every year it's an event. I'm always curious who's going to opt out. Just there's always one of the big three that does their own thing, it seems like, every year now. Like, they're just like, we're kind of sitting out E3. We're going to do our own presentation. So I'm surprised we got Xbox and Nintendo both there this year.
That is surprising. Yeah, Sony obviously not on there. But yeah, Nintendo's been kind of doing their Nintendo Directs and having their own, sometimes around the same time as E3. So to see them on there, that's kind of surprising. Hopefully it's a full-on, presentation or whatever they do. I'm hoping with all of these companies that they treat it the same as like a in-person conference where there's game announcements, where there's a lot of information, interviews, that type of thing. There anything you maybe are looking forward to as far as that goes? Either of you guys?
I mean, for me it doesn't matter that it's virtual, of course, because I've always watched it on streaming platforms anyways. I hope they still do, I like the music that they play, when they'll have the orchestra there. Mm-hmm. It's just fun to see them do their thing. And I like to see all the exciting people talking, so, the big chairmans and such, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm relatively new to E3. I think I've only watched it, 2-3 years.
It's kind of my Super Bowl in a way,
Yeah.
It's, I mean, almost everyone's in the games now at some degree, whether it's an app on your phone to, literally in your living room. E3 has always been a virtual experience. I've always wanted to go, and only until like recently they started opening up the general public again.
Right.
I know that was a big thing for a while there, and I always wanted to go, but like everyone's like, well, it's like getting concert, tickets for any big show you want to go to. It's always sold out fast. You got to, it's always kind of crowded. But what am I looking forward to? Kind of parroting a little bit of what Kayla's saying. Some of those titles, I'd like to hear more news about the new Legend of Zelda game, because it's been like 4 years already. Hopefully there's some kind of news.
Yeah, that'd be exciting.
I really love Nintendo's like Playhouse stuff at E3 a lot. It was just, I don't know, they just set up for it, and they always brought in like all the devs. They kind of just shuffled them in and out and played their games, and it was a cool experience compared to some other studios. But yeah, nothing crazy looking forward to right now. I always like the surprises. That's what I always watch it for mostly. Things I don't know.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm really hoping this keeps E3 in a sense alive. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about a decline. A lot of people in the industry have not been okay with them opening up E3 to the general public, because it was a convention where all the people in the industry would, swap, like make deals and stuff like that, and that type of, there's a business convention, networking, all of that, and then you add a fan element into it, like live fans in the convention center and stuff, and I think a lot of people didn't like that. It seems like all the like video game podcasts that I listen to, they're just like, oh, it's exhausting, and there's just people.
It's too much. It's crowded. It dilutes what they're trying to get accomplished.
Yeah, but I love that the Super Bowl aspect, like you said, like it's your Super Bowl. I want more events like that, and I want big events. Like last summer, in the height of the pandemic and everything else, it seemed like everyone, like E3 was canceled, first off, and then we had so many little events, like IGN did their summer event, and Jeff Keighley did his. I think he still is this year. And then you had several other, like Nintendo, I think, did their own thing. You had a lot of different avenues that this information was coming out, and it was just so scattershot. It was coming from all directions, and if you didn't know, like, oh, when's the IGN doing it? When's Jeff Keighley doing his thing? When's Nintendo doing their thing? Whatever else. I like having a centralized, okay, from the 12th to the 15th, we're going to have E3. We're going to have all these video game makers, devs, etc. do something, whatever that is. Have these, maybe some trailers, some surprises, some events, an orchestra, whatever it's going to be. I like that idea of making it an event as opposed to just, over the course of the whole summer, over 3 months, we're going to have 30 different things on the internet.
Yeah, you can easily miss.
It's weird because, E3 is such a weird time, I think, for development cycles, personally. You never see a lot of things completely done then. And, I feel like we could use more events like this. I mean, I know they have the Tokyo Game Show, if you guys are familiar with that one. That's kind of like their E3 in, like, Japan. And then overseas, there's also something called Gamescom. It's sort of like, it's kind of like E3 in a way, but I see more reveals out of those two things most of the time than E3. E3 is just like, yeah, this is what we're working on. We have been working on it for a long time, and it's rare now for me to like be surprised at E3 now, since everyone's kind of been pulling out for the past couple of years and doing their own thing. So, yeah, absolutely.
I just think the industry needs more events, big
exactly
things, and E3 is just one of them. So I hope it can keep kicking, and I would love to go, sometime when it's not dangerous to do so, but like,
same.
I would love to just walk the floor and be at a convention solely about video games. So sticking with video games, GameStop announced that they're going to take advantage of all of those stock prices shooting to the moon there, and they're going to sell 3.5 million shares. That's what That's what they're gonna do. When they made this announcement, the stocks kind of dropped a little bit because they're diluting it, obviously. But at the end of the day, they're looking to raise quite a bit of money. Depending on where the stock ends up selling, they've estimated anywhere up to $1 billion, probably somewhere between 500 million and $1 billion when it's all said and done, if it goes through the way they want to. And they've said that this is to raise capital for their transformation, is what they call it. They're transforming their business model and everything else. And not to get into the business aspect and the money and the stock market and all that, but more so in the same way of E3. I feel I don't really ever go to GameStop, but I want GameStop to exist. It's a weird thing. I want people to have a place where they can go and get video games, and do the trade-in old stuff, that kind of thing. That digital is growing, obviously. Most of us get our games digitally now, but still, especially now with various, like PlayStation shutting down the PS3 and Vita store, as an example. So you digitally, pretty soon, you're going to be unable to get PS3 and Vita stuff. So you kind of need a market for the discs and maybe even the systems. Where do you go to get a PS3? I don't know. It used to be GameStop. Like maybe that can be what it is in the future if they can get this infusion of capital. Either you guys can take it. What do you think of GameStop? Does it need to just get out and just die, or is there something that's special about it still?
I don't go in GameStop a lot. I just go to browse. It's kind of the same feeling when you go buy a book. You want to feel it. You want to touch it. You want to have the experience of like purchasing. It's not obviously the book you can open and read and take where you want with you, but like, I don't know. It's that feeling of going to go purchase your game, be in that environment, and be around just gaming, opposed to just picking up kind of like coldly at a virtual store. It has a different, I don't know, feeling. I've grown up with Funko Land to EB Games to all these other video game stores that have done it a little bit differently, all but kind of the same. I know there's a local place where you guys live called Disc Replay. I don't know how well they do, comparatively speaking, anymore. But, I don't want it to die. I always want a game store to be around. If it is not around, where would we get our games at if we had a physical copy?
GameStop has a lot of fun merchandise too.
Yeah. They absorbed cool stuff. I forget what it was called. Some online company that sold a bunch of novelty stuff. They kind of expanded, like you're saying, Kayla, into like action figures to backpacks to everything.
Shirts,
yeah.
Socks, hats. Pops.
Yeah, I was thinking about like, okay, you're like a grandma or something, and you want to get your granddaughter a Switch game or something else like that. I guess you could go to Target or Walmart or something else like that. But you might like, GameStop, that's the game store. I want to go to the game store and maybe, have someone who's maybe knowledgeable about games. I don't know if it's the same way at a Target or a Walmart or something, that, the person working in the electronics section at Target or something, do they know anything about the Switch accessories or anything like that, as opposed to someone who is a fan of gaming, is, a GameStop person. I think of those kind of people more so than myself, who, I buy a lot of digital stuff, whatever. I've been into GameStop a couple times in the last, couple years, honestly. But, there are still moms and dads and grandmas and all that looking to, and you can't really, it's not the same thing to give someone a digital code or something.
Exactly.
Or even if they don't know, how to do that, it's not the same as, going in and having a disc, that you can.
It doesn't feel as thoughtful, does it? Like you having to get a specific thing for a specific person, that's for them, and just not like, oh yeah, this is your multi-pass. You get whatever you want with it. Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's be a weird thing for people who are not familiar with that at all if it goes away. I mean, is general question. I know Reggie, after he left Nintendo, didn't he start working for GameStop?
I think he was on their board up until very recently. I think he has recently stepped down to do something else. I forget. I think still game related somewhere. Like he went to a different board or something. But I think he has been a big part of this, as they're calling it, this transformation and everything that they're trying to do. They're scratching and clawing, trying to stay alive. And I just feel, once again, just like E3, we need more gaming events. I feel like we need more game stores. We need people, like, more places or places where people can get games and have those kind of things.
To kind of drive your point a little bit more before we end this little part here, what do you guys think they're going to do? That they're going to, like, are they going to get rid of more box stores? Are they going to go pure, digital, make it like a real nice software-based system where they kind of like, maybe not like Steam, but like, what are they going to do to kind of stay afloat? I'm drawing blanks right now.
I mean, Target's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I just feel like one of those Targets
take it over.
Walmarts will just take over.
Exactly like what happened to Toys R Us, essentially.
Right.
We have other stores we could buy from. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel
just
like
not the diversity.
shopping at a GameStop is not very comfortable. You're like hounded. I mean, the times I've been at GameStop, you're in a small store. It's like as big as 2 of my bedrooms, and
brag.
Our GameStop's very small.
Yeah.
It is a hallway, and there's an area and the counter's right in the middle where they're like, they're not busy. There's not anybody else in there, and they just
acting like they're stocking games when they're all like blank.
Right. And I don't have a problem with small talk, but sometimes it's hard to. No, I don't want to buy that. I'm here to look at Pops.
I know about 2 years ago, they had a plan to, and I'm sure the pandemic completely ruined this, or at least, like, pushed it back, but they had a plan to convert at least some of their stores into, I don't remember the terminology or whatever, but, like, an experience where they were going to set up, like, retro consoles. They were going to have it more be like a place you go to even like play games, try out games, hang out with your friends kind of thing. I think generally I took from it they were going for like a card shop, like a place where you would go and play Magic the Gathering type of situation.
Games,
like a comic book store, that has a lot of those aspects where they'll have tournaments and things of that nature. I think that's what they were going for, and that could work. They've got a ton of real estate. They're all over the country. They've got a ton of locations and everything else. So just about every town, if you did that, you just converted it. Every town now has a place where, kids could go and play games or meet with their friends or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
huge.
Like,
Yeah.
Kids, I think, teenagers and stuff like that want to get out of the house, or, they don't have cars, they're not going to go hang out at bars or anything, but they want to hang out with their friends and might not have a good place to do that.
Yeah, the only, kind of downside is, like Kayla said about, our local GameStop, a lot of their locations are, in malls, are in smaller locations and stuff like that. So they have a huge real estate footprint in, all across the country. They have a ton of stores, but each individual store tends to be small. So where do you set up those kind of things?
It'd be hard to cater to what you're talking about there, because they need some space to set up all those things and have the. I think that's a great idea if they spearheaded it, like having community within each town, and you could just have events. You can have whatever. You could make it. I think it would make lots of money, but at the same time, crowded in a way as well, right? So
Yeah, but I think that would be great because for me, yes, I like to play video games, but not a whole lot. I actually prefer to watch Eric play video games. And I think that there really could be a lot of other people out there that would enjoy video games. Don't ever dive right into it because it can be very hard, hand-eye coordination, and just getting used to all the different consoles that there are and games and platforms and systems that you could just enjoy, sit down and watching. I mean, even as like a young teenager could really enjoy it.
Yeah, especially if you do like how they used to have like LAN cafes and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm bringing it back.
Have a situation like that maybe, especially if you add competition to it. People love going on Twitch or whatever, or watching Evo or something, watching like fighting tournaments and stuff. But doing that at your local GameStop, where you can just walk in and see like, oh man, we're having a Street Fighter tournament or something like. It could be.
I'd sit down and watch.
Yeah, it could be interesting.
That really reminds me of like almost like cyber cafes in Japan because they kind of pay for time, and they go there and there's just a bunch of people lined up next to a bunch of PCs and stuff, and they play their games for X amount of hours, and then they're gone. They don't own one, right. At home. That's what they do. Especially
right now too. Now that you say that, like getting the PS5 is incredibly hard. If you wanted to see somebody play something on it, you can just go to this cafe, and it's incredibly hard and they're expensive. So, of course, the younger generation won't be able to buy everything. So
yeah, or even renting some time to play a PS5 or something. Right. If you're going to make that like investment, you're going to spend $500 or whatever, but whenever they're available, maybe you want to test it out for an hour ahead of time.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, so I'll get GameStop on the phone and we'll get this going.
There you go, man.
Make like $600 million on this stock sale. I feel like they could throw us a bone, right?
Dude, you got a business degree. Make it happen. Make it happen, man. Like here we go.
Hey, man, that's this podcast. That's what I'm using this business degree for. So that's GameStop, that's video games. Before we get into our trailer section, and before we get into our review of Godzilla vs. Kong, I wanted to talk a little bit about how well Godzilla vs. Kong has been doing both in theaters and streaming. I looked up the numbers. They had numbers available for the first 5 days, after it came out on the 31st. And in the first 5 days, they had 3.6 million streams on HBO Max and 48.1 million in the domestic box office. So the box office, as an example, $48+ million in the first 5 days. They were projected to do 20 to 30 million. So they're almost, doubling basically what they were projected to do on that movie. It's still a lot of theaters are not open. There's capacity limits. People are still afraid to go to theaters. They're making decent money. It's the best opening we've had during this pandemic. And then from the streaming aspect, some of the data's a little maybe off because it's not readily shared. So a lot of these third-party companies have to collect data from like streaming televisions and stuff. So the data's gonna maybe not be perfect, but 3.6 million streams compared to Wonder Woman 84 at 2.2 million. And Snyder Cut, the Justice League Snyder Cut, at 1.8 million. And this is over the first 5 days that those were available on streaming.
Wow.
So, once again, it's almost doubling its most recent kind of comparative things. And those are the three. So they're all Warner Media, HBO Max properties. And they're also the three most streamed and highest grossing domestic theater as well. So Warner's doing okay in the pandemic, but so I just thought that was a little interesting as far as how well Godzilla vs. Kong has done. It kind of seems like in some ways, we'll get to it in the review. It seems like a weird movie to be doing so well, but maybe not. I mean, maybe
IP.
Yeah,
I don't think so. Because all these Snyder, you got to be invested, 4 hours of your life.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, you got to be invested a little bit, I think, like at least kind of know what's going on. Godzilla, you're just there. Like you know what you're there for. So maybe that's that simplicity of just having a fun movie real quick, just brings in people, and it's not as long. So I don't know.
Hey, they're doing something right. Let's talk trailers. So, a ton of trailers have come out in recent days that we are really excited about. Let's start with the Black Widow trailer. That's what I have on the script, so let's start there. What did you guys think of the most recent Black Widow trailer?
Finally. I'm excited. It hasn't, you have to keep tempering your excitement, because I just feel like with Black Widow specifically, it's like, okay, I've been excited about this movie for a year, and I guess I'm just waiting.
Yeah, I just feel like I've been waiting forever for this movie, and I feel like it's just been in limbo, waiting if Disney was going to or not going to put it on streaming, and it seems like they're holding off because it probably cost them a lot of money, and they wanted a huge return back on it, so it must have been hard for them to make that decision, but based on the trailer, I'm excited for it. I'm not like ecstatic or anything. She has never been one of my favorite characters, but I mean, if anything,
into that past.
Yeah, the backstory is interesting to me. I'll sit there for the ride. I'm more interested in the characters that are surrounding her than her herself. So we'll see where that goes. David Arbor as that one, like weird. It looks so weird. Yeah, it looks so weird and out of place. So
it seems kind of dark. Like,
yeah.
Especially...
Well, she was not doing nice things in her past.
Sure. But also, like, a lot of times, at least in the Avengers movie, she typically, like, plays off of, like, Hawkeye or Bruce or something, and she's kind of... She's flirty, she's funny, she's, like, fun and energetic and everything else. It definitely seems like, not only her, but the characters surrounding her in the trailers kind of seem... Yeah, super. It seems like a serious kind of Marvel movie, if that exists.
Yeah, you're right. She's kind of flirty, fun, and there's a little bit of you can tell there was some serious shit happening in her backstory. The only time you ever got anything like that was like in Age of Ultron when she was talking with Bruce, and they were kind of like he came out of the shower, she had a robe on, they're talking about like just running away together. And talking about how she can't have children anymore, and he's talking about how could he have a relationship, and you're like, oh wow, this person's really damaged. I'd really like to know more about that story. So here we go.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if it is a dark take on a Marvel movie or something.
I mean, she deserves a solo film.
Oh yeah. More than some other guys, personally. She's been in it for like since Iron Man 2. That's a long ass time. Why hasn't more people talked about that? She's been in like everything. A lot of the Cap films, Winter Soldier, right? Silver Edge, everything. So.
Yeah, she's one of the first Avengers. Like,
and especially like it might frame, spoilers, but her death in Endgame, a little bit. In a different way, like if you haven't cared about Black Widow up until now you do, now you see her backstory and she becomes more of a fleshed out character. Now you're like, oh man, I rewatched Endgame and now that scene where she dies matters a little more, something like that,
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
Sticking with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we also got a super cool Loki trailer. So I'm
so confused.
I'm showing my hand a little early, but I thought this was just amazing. I thought this trailer was super cool. What did you think, Ryan?
Honestly, this is probably my most anticipated of their like miniseries. I don't know if you guys read the comics or not, but it deals with a lot that they could take it. And I just love they're dealing with time, you know. And it's always been a tricky thing in every movie you've ever been. Back to the Future, Avengers, and it's hard to get it right. So, I'm curious how they're gonna either end his character or continue his character to end all this because it's just a tricky situation, but it looks a hell of fun. The whole trailer.
It looks really cool. Like I said, I'm super confused. Time, travel, multiverse, shit confuses the hell out of me. I get real lost. Like, Game of Thrones, I don't understand half that show because of the time loop stuff. But, entertained by it. I don't have to understand everything to enjoy it. I'm super excited. I love Tom Hiddleston, love Loki. He's always a fun,
the pieces.
Jokes and mischievous. It's always entertaining.
Breaking it down a little bit, I mean, did you guys see? I mean, we just talked about Black Widow. Like, he was sitting with, I'm pretty sure that was Scarlet. Like, when, like, the moon was, like, collapsing and coming down, and then she's just sitting there.
Watch it.
Like, she's just there. You see the red head, you see the red hair, and you see, like, the actual black suit. Like, oh, is that Scarlet? Is that the Black Widow?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be time traveling, right? I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So it could be at any point in all of the chronology and stuff. We didn't mention it in Black Widow, only that it was delayed and everything else, but one of the interesting things about, like, that movie is it was supposed to come out before WandaVision. It was supposed to come out before Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I didn't know that.
Right. Well, yeah, it was supposed to come out, like, last year around this time,
Oh, wow.
basically. And then WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier were supposed to come out after. So it will be interesting to see between Black Widow and Loki if there are any sort of, like, or even, now Falcon and Winter Soldier's halfway home, if there's any references between any of these movies that kind of get a little screwy, because of they were supposed to come out in a certain order, but now they're not. They're in a different order. So that will be interesting to see.
Black Widow might be totally its own thing, though.
Feels that way.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it does.
Because, it would be like a disservice to kind of everything if the story gets confused or something, or a big reveal in it happens that gets screwed up because they wanted to, like, hold it back to release it in theaters, that kind of thing. Like, it needed to be released before Falcon and Winter Soldier for you to understand something in Falcon and Winter Soldier, that kind of thing.
I don't think they would have done that. I mean, things happen. So
the trailer, they kind of explained, like, I'm sure a lot of people are confused, like, what the hell is going on, and it deals with a thing called TVA, which is like the Time Variance Authority in the comics, and it's where they monitor, like, the multiverse and different timelines, make sure things are in check. But the weirdest one I saw in the trailer that had me just, like, laughing was, you guys familiar with DB Cooper is?
Yeah, he like stole a bunch of money and jumped out of a plane, right?
Like in the 70s, he is like he ransomed like $200,000 or something from a plane, and he just jumped out of a plane, never to be seen. I love how they set that up, and he just got Rainbow Bridge or whatever back out of the air, and I was like, wow, what's going on with this trailer? That was DB Cooper. Yeah, I was like, this is nuts. Why are they bringing that in here? Like, everything else seemed to, like, kind of work, but that was just so random. Like, what the hell?
Well, maybe they'll be, like, exploring not only stuff we've seen in, like, the Marvel universe, but just random historical stuff. Like, I want to see Loki, I don't know, take on George Washington or something. Maybe that'll, like, happen.
Oh my god.
Cue my Owen Wilson. Wow.
Yeah. And that's going to be a weird dynamic, because it seems like they're going to play off each other well. Yeah.
I'm interested. Yeah, Owen hasn't gotten a lot of, like, leading man work lately. I hope he's a big part of this. I mean, has he ever gotten TV work? I don't know that he has.
I don't know.
So, I mean, I'm down for, like, a Wilson Renaissance or something. I'm down for that. He seems fun. Seems like him and Loki are playing, off each other pretty well.
I'm real excited. Most excited for that more than any other, like, Marvel thing coming out. So.
Yeah, I think I know we had that big long discussion about WandaVision and everything on a previous episode, and I think for all of us, it didn't scratch the weird itch. We were thinking it was going to go real weird, real multiverse, time stuff, weird stuff. It seems like Loki is going to maybe scratch that itch, get real weird and real not what we've already seen with Marvel, maybe. So, seems pretty cool. Sticking with some kind of multiverse, Space Jam: A New Legacy. We got to see our first trailer of Space Jam as well. Anyone who knows anything, it's headlined by LeBron this time.
King James.
King James.
Oh, King James.
He kind of plays the role that Michael Jordan played in the original. This one, he gets sucked into... What was he? What did he get sucked into? Was it a computer or something?
Supercomputer.
I don't know.
Yeah. It was...
Don Cheadle's like, I got your kids. And... yeah, get him back to play some basketball. I was like, oh.
So it's in the internet, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the original didn't make any sense either. Aliens came to the planet and, whatever.
I'm excited for Space Jam. I was like, why in the world are they making this? We don't need that. But it looked fun. Looks like a nice movie night. Especially if you had kids, it would be fun.
It does look fun. The only thing I'll say about it, I'm gonna watch it. It looks fun. My expectations are low. But you guys see the massive amount of cameos in the background from all their product, like Game of Thrones to Scooby Doo to Space Ghost, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I did not know that was going to be a plot point. But I think I saw the Iron Giant and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In there.
Yeah. Flintstones, it's everything's in there.
Crazy world that they're going to.
Yeah, I feel like that's cool because the original it was Looney Tunes or whatever, and you can only go so far with those properties, whatever. You can only be so into unless you really Daffy and Bugs and all them, whatever, But yeah, if you're just gonna open up the whole WB
franchise,
whatever, yeah, the big vault and just have them all in there. There's room for some funny stuff, some weird situations. So, kind of into that. And there's a bunch of cameos also from NBA players right now, Damian Lillard, I think, and
oh really?
Thompson, I think I saw. And the more they can do, that was Charles Barkley and stuff was in the original. So it'd be interesting to see between new players and maybe if they were to bring back some of the old dudes who were Muggsy Bogues or something from the original.
That's my favorite part when they're all losing their actual just talent and they're I can't play basketball anymore, man, and all the Monstars are taking their talent and stuff. I wonder if they're gonna do something similar in Space Jam 2, just to kind of.
It almost seems like this time the other team they're the Goon Squad now.
Yeah.
They already exist maybe in this world. There's already this squad of really good basketball players. It seems like the Space Jam in this new movie is a thing. Everyone knows what this is. Oh yeah, the Space Jam. It's just been we play basketball with cartoons. That's a thing we do. It's just, of course. It's just a thing. So I wonder if they'll do anything where if this will be a true sequel, where they will say oh yeah, remember back
that
25
tournament.
years ago? Yeah, that other tournament, right, where Michael Jordan was at? I wonder if they'll do anything with that.
I hope so. I mean, I'm down for it. I want to see Don Cheadle play basketball. That would be really cool. Against LeBron James. That's all I want to see. But
well,
yeah.
We'll see if you get your wish.
Nice cameo, him coming as War Machine.
Yeah, exactly. Hey,
man.
That would be so weird.
Let's get weird, man. Let's get weird. And the final movie trailer that we actually got two for Suicide Squad. This was something. I mean, I've seen. Have you seen the original Suicide Squad, Ryan?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a hot piece of garbage, right? I mean, we
Oh,
all
it
agree
was-
on that. That movie's
It was-
just bad.
Pretty bad. I usually give everything a benefit of doubt, but that was a train wreck. I
I'm
hate it.
usually really easy to please, and I also hated it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was such a mess. I mean, it was not enjoyable. And when they said like, "Oh yeah, we're making like a direct sequel, but we're like recasting some characters, we're not recasting others." Like, yeah, Margot Robbie's still gonna be in it, but we're gonna add other members to the Suicide Squad, and I just like, oh, you're gonna take a mess and make a mess worse. But I don't know. This trailer
It looked
looks
good.
It looks
pretty
fun. It has that Guardians fun to it. Like the
Yeah, it's a
soundtrack's
nice-
going to be on point. You can tell.
Oh, I like
Um,
that.
James
That's a-
Gunn could be very gory, so I want to see what he's going to do.
Yeah, I love that it's definitely full rated R. I mean, even the trailer was like a Red Band trailer, pretty vulgar, pretty like hardcore and everything. But all while like Steely Dan was playing and just like having a lot of fun, and you know, joking about what a bag of dicks on a beach or whatever.
That
Like,
I laughed a little too hard at that. It was fucking hilarious.
so good. Like,
Um,
I think like it's kind of the perfect movie for John Cena.
yeah,
right?
he's
Like,
great.
Yeah,
He's like a
yeah.
big muscular dummy.
Yeah, I don't know if my opinion has changed on, like, if you want to call it a franchise or whatever, so much between, like, two movies. I can't imagine another example of that happening.
So I think it's gonna be better for sure. I'll break it down a little bit. Are you guys familiar with any Justice League stuff at all? Like
No,
any of
I
the
mean, only
villains?
what I've seen
Like,
in
I
the
watched
movies.
that
You know,
movie.
like, I've seen
Alright.
4 hours
Watched
of the
both of the
Snyder Cut,
movies.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
like
I'm
the
kind of an
original.
expert, actually. Yeah.
So here's my theory. I have no clue. I haven't looked up anything about what's gonna happen. But I know that big ass main villain, the giant starfish. He's called Starro. He's literally like the first big villain the Justice League's fought like way back when. He's a giant starfish that splits himself into a bunch of little starfish and kind of like mind controls people. It's just really random and crazy. I was very surprised that they had that villain of all things in it. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But I have a hunch that they're gonna have like a team A who's like really disposable that goes in and just dies, and then they just bring in team B and clean it up. I think that's what the movie's gonna be about. It's gonna be silly.
I hope so. Like, I really hope that, like, because that's the whole thing. It's the Suicide Squad. They're
Yeah.
supposed to be, like, expendable and everything else. But if at the end of that movie, the 20 of them are still alive or whatever, because it seems like there's just 100 Suicide Squad people.
Yeah, the
in
cast
this
is
movie.
huge, right? It's
Yeah.
ginormous. I'm sure like half of them are gonna die. Like they just that cast that big. You can't juggle that and make it a great movie.
It's just so weird to me. I'm just gonna forget that the first Suicide Squad ever existed. Like I tried to do it Justice League. It's just so weird to me that this is happening with two franchises like at the same exact time. Like it's just weird. I've
Very
never
weird.
heard of something like this even happening.
Yeah, I've been wanting to have... We can have a further conversation maybe on a different pod, but that has been on my mind quite a bit of, like, remakes and these director's cuts and stuff like that. Like, I wonder if it's gonna be... just gonna be a thing that's gonna happen now?
Just gonna
Like,
get multiple versions of one movie.
yeah,
Oh, God,
yeah.
I hope not.
Because the fans see a movie and then they say, like, oh man, that's
I want it to be
crap.
like this.
But I want to, like... But there's something here, like these characters are interesting, and there's a story here, and there's like the rich lore of the comics or whatever. Like, make it good, and then like they go out and make it good, or like make it better at least. You know, we'll see where Suicide Squad is, and personally I liked Snyder Cut, you know, all 4 hours of it, you know, but yeah, pretty interesting.
Little tidbit. So the shark guy in it is voiced by Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I thought it was just so stupid.
I cannot think of a better person to be a giant shark man. Like, I cannot cast that better. That's pretty good.
It looks like a load of fun. I'm in it. I love Margot Robbie. I love John Cena and like his stuff that he's in most of the time. It's just silly. I love Idris Elba. So
Yeah.
who's the actor that plays that polka dot guy who's like super fucking depressed or something? I don't know why.
He's the guy from the
Ant-Man.
Batman.
Yeah,
Ant-Man?
I don't know his name.
No, it's not for somewhere.
He's kind of got an interesting name. I think he's like Eastern European or something. So he's got kind of an interesting name, I think. But yeah, he's in
Batman and Ant-Man, right?
He's got a bigger part in Ant-Man. Like he's one of Ant-Man's like buddies or whatever. He's like a hacker or something.
Oh,
wow. But yeah, he was also in The Dark Knight. A very small scene. He played like one of Joker's henchmen.
He's like the one that Harvey Dent takes hostage.
Oh,
he
that's who it is.
Yeah,
oh, there we go. Wow.
It's,
okay, yeah.
Joker. He grabs him and he's like a mentally insane guy, and he can't
plays crazy very well. Then okay,
yeah.
I'm excited. He looks like he's gonna have
fine in Ant-Man though.
Yeah,
he's still like eccentric in Ant-Man. He's still like kind of a fun dude. So
fantastic. Can't wait.
Yeah, hopefully he's getting more roles like that. Did you see Birds of Prey, Ryan?
No, I didn't see it. No.
Check that one out. It's on HBO Max.
Is it canon? Is it supposed to be a part of Suicide Squad?
I would think so. Just because it's
Robbie.
Harley Quinn, and that one is a lot more like what I think this Suicide Squad is going to be. A lot more fun. It's super violent and whatnot, and like it's not a great movie, but it's way better than Suicide Squad, and there's definitely some like fun parts, and I feel like it might be a decent primer for Suicide Squad. There might even make references or something. Ewan McGregor is like the main bad guy, and he's real fun. So that's my recommendation to you, Ryan, and also everyone out in podcast listening land. Check out Birds of Prey. It's kind of fun.
Got it.
The last thing on our trailer list is actually a video game. Not so much a trailer, but we saw some gameplay. About 5 minutes of gameplay of Resident Evil 8 Village. We've talked a lot on previous episodes about how excited we are for this game, but we got to see kind of an extended view of what like the combat's going to look like, what the graphics, if you want to use that term, like the fidelity is going to look. The visuals were all captured on a PS4 Pro, as opposed to like a PS5, and it looked pretty good, like for a previous generation console. What did you think, Kayla?
I'm pumped. I'm excited. The enemies. This is one of those games that I don't play. I just watch Eric. The enemies look so difficult, man. They're sponges. They took all the bullets, and they looked like just not big boys. They looked like you're just your regular run of the mill. You're gonna constantly kind of run into these guys. So save your ammo, guys.
Did you play any of RE7, Ryan?
No.
Oh man, it's worth checking out. I mean, it's real good. If you don't like first person horror games, then maybe it's not for you. But
I like not to shit my pants when I play my video game.
It's a shit my pants kind of game.
It looked too scary for me. I'll be honest. That's why I didn't play it. Yeah,
but
I don't want
to
fucking 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh shit. My God.
It's pretty cool because it's a direct. This game is going to be a direct sequel to RE7. It seems like it picks up, kind of same character. The system looks very similar. Back to the first person shooter. All of that looked very standard. Even the weapons looked very similar to what RE7 was.
Got a block.
Yeah, but the enemies were kind of interesting. In some of the trailers and stuff, they've shown like real supernatural, the vampire ladies and stuff in a lot of the trailers. In this gameplay trailer, they were showing these quite zombies. I'm calling them like ghouls. They kind of looked like really like humans who they didn't feed for a long time. Like people who just look like real sick, but maybe they weren't necessarily
with, like,
undead.
Cloths all over them.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
They
really.
were hooded and
Yeah.
black. They were all
Kind of
dark.
interesting, but they definitely seemed kind of evasive, and it definitely looked like they were bullet sponges, like Kayla mentioned. But I think I just want more of this game. I think it's definitely going to, because RE7 was really good after the franchise had been kind of on the downswing, and I think RE7 brought it back to where it needed to be, and it seems like they're not changing enough to break it again. It seems like they're keeping the train rolling.
This game seems to have more draw for me than the last one that you're talking about. Just the mystery, the characters, the environment. There's a lot of mystery. Like I just kind of like want to know more about the story. If not, watch it like Kayla does, or at least read about it. So it has that appeal for me at least. Maybe not to play it, but at least know more about it.
I like to add to me watching Eric play. I'm a part of it still. I get to be like, oh, look to the left. There's something shiny over there. Turn right. Go this way. I think I saw this. So it's fun because I get to be a part of it. It's not like just watching it on a stream.
No, it's great. Yeah, it's pretty much like watching a horror movie, but you can actually interact with it. Which instead of like, oh, don't go through that door. No, why are you running so? Yeah, why are you running so slow?
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I definitely need it because I'm real
There's
bad
so much going on at one
at video
time.
games, so I need like a co-pilot to say like, oh, why didn't you grab that key? Oh,
Pretty good
okay.
servant.
So yeah, that's good. You mentioned wanting to know more about the world and the lore and everything else. Capcom did release some really interesting lore. The giant vampire lady, size 17 foot. So yeah. So you wanted to know anything more about that lady? She got a big old honking foot. Oh boy.
I'm into it. I'll definitely be her sub if she needs one.
Alright, so let's get into our quick review of Godzilla vs. Kong. This will be a full-on spoiler review. We're not going to hold anything back. The deep story that we saw in this, we need to just let it all unfold. So, if you haven't seen it, go and check it out, and then come back and listen to this, and you'll get some real perspective on this potentially Oscar-nominated next year movie.
No.
Yeah. This one. So I want to start off the conversation and say this movie went places, both like physically and like story-wise and shit, that it really didn't need to, but like it surprised me at least. What did you think of like all that Hollow Earth stuff? And what do you guys want to like break down what we saw?
Yeah, go for it. Ask the questions. What do you want to know first?
So, all right.
The plot?
Yeah, the plot. So we've got Kong captured in some kind of dome, right? They've been studying Kong in a dome.
Yeah,
on
he's in the Skull Island observation.
Yeah, because that's the thing. You just put him in a dome and hope for the best.
Because like his island that he's been on for hundreds of years wasn't enough.
I was wondering about that. Like, did they think he was gonna like dip? Is that like the reason why you would? Because they essentially, you get to see that early on he throws like a spear or something into the sky, and you see that there's like a big virtual reality dome or whatever that's like projecting the sky. And
it's like Cabin in the Woods or whatever.
Yeah, it's like Cabin in the Woods. the whole island of Skull Island, Kong is trapped on, and they're studying him for some reason. I didn't really understand what that was about.
I talked a lot through this movie. I just felt like constantly I was like, why are they doing that? What is going on? Why are they... Why do they have him on a boat with his hand dragging through the water like, oh, we can't wake Godzilla, but let's let him fucking put his hand in the water, and then, yeah, let's get some helicopters. No, that's plan A.
They did do a whole... Kayla did call that out fairly early. So there's a whole... like, if anyone's a Lord of the Rings fan, there's that whole question of, oh, there's these giant fucking eagles in Lord of the Rings. Why didn't they take the giant fucking eagles to Mordor and drop the ring in? Why didn't the hobbits, take these eagles that apparently exist? So you get a scene in the movie where they're transporting Kong on a boat to go to Hollow Earth. And we'll get into Hollow Earth, because Hollow Earth is something. But they're traveling on a boat, and their whole thing is that, like, we cannot let Godzilla get near King Kong. Like, it's going to be bad news.
The thing that lives in the water and travels in the water.
Right. And they're like, let's put him on a boat. That's how you get him there, right? Oh.
I mean, I thought they were just trying to film King Kong in the volume. I thought that was Disney trying to make another episode of Mandalorian, and their technology where they just have a bunch of screens around them.
Is that what that was?
I don't know what that was, man. So there were two different stories here plot-wise. There's one that kind of worked, and there's one I don't understand why they need more Millie Bobby Brown in it. Like, she could have just literally not existed in this movie. So the Kong side of the story, I thought, okay, they gotta get him somewhere, so you need some, a little bit of plot, and it kind of worked. It was nice that little girl that kind of communicated with them. But I'm with you. Why the fuck did they put him on a fucking giant ship across the ocean, and then they end up, let's fly him. Yeah. Like halfway through the movie, they're like, yeah, we're just gonna fly him now.
Plan
no
A.
big deal. Oh my god.
Yeah, as far as I know, Godzilla swims very well. Cannot fly, though. Like, I feel like that's a known thing about Godzilla. I'm not an expert, but he didn't fly in this fucking movie, so...
Tell me what Millie Bobby Brown's group actually accomplished.
I enjoyed watching them. They saw the robot Godzilla. I can't think of the name. Mecha Godzilla.
They went to, Hong Kong, was it?
Yeah.
Where was it they took them? They went that far to spill some water on a council to destroy or fuck up Mecha Godzilla. Like, I just don't... What was their point going in that giant chute, thousands of miles away underneath the earth? I don't know.
I talked constantly through this. Like, why the...
How
do they go to this giant facility that just got attacked by Godzilla with questionable things inside? There's no security around here. They'd be cleaning shit up. They got secrets in there, for damn sure.
This super secret place where they could just go in an elevator and go wherever they want without being noticed.
But nobody is there keeping security.
No cameras, no alarm systems, nothing. They just, walk in.
See Alexander Skarsgård getting some work, though. I'm a fan.
I felt really seen because one of the main characters is a podcaster. He podcasts, but that was one of the earliest scenes where I was like, what? Why is this dude doing this? So his whole thing is he's got this underground podcast that he shares secrets about the Illuminati and about mega corporations who are causing Godzilla attacks or whatever else. And it's all right, cool, whatever. He's a conspiracy theorist, but you find out shortly thereafter that he works at the place, the evil corporation.
He's undercover.
Right, but he's telling everyone, however many people listen to his podcast, yeah, I'm gonna go into this place, I'm gonna go into Amazon, basically, I'm gonna steal a bunch of their data, and then I'm gonna broadcast it on my podcast to all my people.
They're gonna shut that down.
It just felt like an episode of Alex Jones, Like it's just like, yeah, I wash myself with bleach. Like I'm Illuminati, controlling Godzilla. Like I don't know, man. It's that his side of the story was too much. Like they try to put some like humanity on him, like, oh, my wife died and blah blah blah. I was like, okay, that sucks. Holy shit! Now you got these two like I don't know, middle schooler, high schooler kids with you. You just abduct and like, yeah,
die with adults.
like we're just gonna take these two kids. I don't know, and we're gonna fucking sneak into my job and
Super dangerous.
it was too much, man. It was
I should
insane.
have wrote his name down, and he wasn't much of a character. But it's the kid from Hunt for the Wilder People and Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
I really like that guy. I think he's Australian or
Yeah, he's got an
New
accent.
Zealand, maybe. I know Hunt for the Wilder People, I think, is set in New Zealand. But he's really funny. He doesn't get to do a lot in this movie, but like I like to see him getting work, and I like to if he could just constantly get little bit parts where he's like the awkward, like weird kid. Like I'm into that.
Yeah, he is better than the other two. Like Millie Bobby Brown's like, yeah, this is what I need to do. I just gotta do this thing. It's my mission. What mission are you doing? How are you gonna save Godzilla? I don't get it.
Another huge problem I had. How is this person who observes King Kong? That's her job. That's her life. Observe King Kong. Never observe her daughter, quote unquote, talking to King Kong.
Oh, like all the sign language stuff?
Yes. Yes.
The little girl was
also bad
literally the
mom.
best actor in this movie for me. The little girl is the best actor in this movie for me. She was the most believable. She actually cared for Kong. I felt it.
And she was talking to him and nobody knew about it. I just don't get it. You're on an isolated island where your job is to observe him. You know sign language. And did you never fucking try that?
Who knew?
That's definitely an example of like this movie went a lot of places it did not need to go. Like there's a subplot of like, oh shit, King Kong knows sign language. Like King Kong can communicate with humans now. Like that's huge. Then you have Hollow Earth, which has that been? I've seen 2 out of the 3 other movies in this series. Has that been a thing before that they mentioned?
As you know, Godzilla is very old, right? Not in the other ones. This has always been in like monster. It's called like the MonsterVerse.
Sure.
And it's definitely a thing. It's a big thing. I was surprised they even brought it up in this movie. It's like, oh shit. So I mean, you see how well it did. You were talking about at the beginning of the podcast. Like, there's gonna be more movies now. Like, just because they made money. Now they have 2 separate worlds that could take it. Godzilla in one, King Kong in the other. They have 1 billion monsters they can go through. Yeah, it's been a prominent thing though.
If you make a movie in Hollow Earth, I'm not gonna be able to watch it because that shit made me dizzy as hell.
Yeah, the CGI was insane.
Super wild. So Hollow Earth, if you haven't watched the movie and for some reason you're listening to this, they go to the center of the earth. Is that how that works? I think that's like what they're doing. They're like in this, let's just say they're in the center of the earth, but instead of it being like a big fiery thing like we think the center of the earth is, it's like an upside down world.
It's like a mirror world.
Yeah, it's a world where like the sky is the ground, but the ground is also the ground, and the sky is also the sky.
It's kind of like a parallel sort of. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Well, yeah, no one can. But there's like monsters and dinosaurs, and apparently King Kong is like from there, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Is that like
So there was an ancient battle. When he walks into the throne room, you see all the bones and stuff that their ancestors fought, and he picked up the axe, and when he picked it up, kind of like he sat on the throne, kind of like Godzilla could feel that sort of deal. So that's why he decided to pretty much make a hole to China.
Yeah. He made it all the way to Hollow Earth.
Yeah, all the way down.
So yeah, So the CGI and all of that, the visuals of Hollow Earth and how they kind of like explain. Kayla said she got kind of dizzy.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of in the same way because they do a lot of weird like rotation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of, like I said, like for some reason there's mountains in the sky of this place. It's an orb, I guess. I guess they're like in a circular environment, so everything is everywhere in this. So they did a lot of cool visual stuff there. But like, that's wild that they're just introducing that in this movie that's just supposed to be about Kong and Godzilla, having it out. And then, on top of that, we get Mechagodzilla.
Oh,
like,
so excited. I
that
love it.
was fucking nuts. Like, I remember just like looking over to Kayla and being like, holy shit, that's Mechagodzilla. What is going on here? What is this movie right now? Like,
So let's roll back a little bit. The first fight, Godzilla vs Kong, they fought on the fucking in the ocean, and Godzilla beat Kong's ass. Let's be real here. Like he fucked him up. And then round 2, they fought. It's kind of like Godzilla's sort of Kong's. He won a little bit.
Yeah,
and
then
got that axe.
He got that axe. Fucking Donkey Kong got the axe. Fucking beat the shit out of Godzilla. Then the third act, Mike, if you're listening, King Kong got his ass beat. And he submitted, all right, to the king of the fucking monsters.
He was dying.
Right, he was dying. And at the end of the film, after we'll talk about the Mechagodzilla, they had that brief like team up, and then they kind of looked at each other, and Kong had the axe. He dropped axe. He's like, "That's right, bitch. You dropped that axe. I'm the king of the monsters. You go to Hollow Earth. This is the whole planet's mine. You can go, rule Hollow Earth." So, yeah, Mechagodzilla. Your thoughts?
I can't believe
he was a badass.
They did that. I don't know. He was like, I feel like that could have been left for another movie. But yeah, that was something. Like you said, they took out Mechagodzilla with water. That was something. What can you say about the fact that they made, for some reason, this evil corporation made a mechanical... If you don't know what a Mechagodzilla is, it is a mechanical, made of metal, cyborg or whatever, Godzilla.
This was one that you could pilot.
Yeah.
Piloted by, I think, a Japanese man with mind control. Like, he had a thing on his head. A skull of, I think, another monster that was wired to control Mechagodzilla. So yeah, that, makes perfect sense, I think. I think that's probably the most, scientific part of this entire movie, I think they probably consulted someone from, MIT or something else like that. For some reason, Mechagodzilla becomes detached from the brain control.
Because they had him channeling the old monster or whatever. I don't know, some way. Did you like the part where they just suddenly uploaded energy? Like, oh yeah,
instantly.
this is how we're gonna turn him on. They just uploaded the code or whatever. Like, yeah, he's good to go now. Let's go with it.
Well, from the Space Jam trailer, I know that that's kind of how the internet works. So yeah, it made perfect sense.
But Mechagodzilla, amazing. It was fun. It was great.
Yeah,
You whooped Godzilla's ass, and it was hilarious. And then the team up was cool as hell when they, obviously saved Kong.
It did look really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty.
I want to know how much they spent on that.
That's a good question. This movie had to have been expensive in terms of the CGI, because it was top notch. I think from the Hollow Earth stuff, like I mentioned before, the monsters themselves. It's all CGI. The whole damn movie is CGI, but it's fine. It works. It looks good and believable in that sense. As long as you're fine with the fact that you're just watching, a computer generated monkey versus a lizard versus a metal lizard, I guess, would be the three that you saw.
It cost them $165 million to produce.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it looks like even in they might get their budget back even in this, pandemic and everything else. I only wrote down the domestic numbers, but I know it's doing quite well outside of the U.S. as well. And a lot of places outside of the U.S. have higher capacity on their theaters and things of that nature. These type of big CGI movies always tend to do very well, especially like in China and things of that nature. It seems
Makes
like
sense.
that market is really into this type of movie. So yeah, it seems like this is going to continue. Really, I mean, at the end, like you said, if you want to say that Godzilla won, fine. Godzilla won, I suppose. I'm not going to take sides on this. I like both of these monsters. They should have let Kong fly. They should have used the helicopter technique earlier. Then it might have been a little more even. But yeah, I guess it sets it up for really whatever they want to do going forward. Kong's alive. Godzilla's alive. Millie Bobby Brown is alive.
Oh god.
Podcast guy is alive and well.
You know what I feel bad for the most in this movie? Wasn't Kong, wasn't Godzilla. Her fucking dad. Like, this little girl just like like doing whatever she wanted, going to like I don't know, this nightmare.
It seemed like he was like not as shocked as he should have been when she said,
Right.
"Oh yeah, I'm in Hong Kong." Like she went from like L.A. to Hong Kong or San Francisco or whatever she was. Or no, was it Florida?
Yeah, they're
whatever.
Florida.
So yeah, they're in like Florida or something, and she gets to Hong Kong because they have super magnetic transportation or whatever.
God. Hey, Dad.
They're in like.
I'm in Hong Kong with my best friend and some older guy.
Right, some old dude.
Old dude, that's crazy. Like, drinks whiskey. I'll have a gun holster.
They also they had all this crazy technology, but they don't have any way to like track Godzilla. Like,
Yeah.
They
didn't know he was attacking until he was attacking.
They were god awful at tracking Godzilla. That's the one thing. They've got enough money and technology to like put a dome over Skull Island. They got enough money and technology to make trams from Florida to Hong Kong. But
and a Mechagodzilla.
And a Mechagodzilla, yeah, I should mention that.
That, like, whooped Godzilla's ass.
But, like, maybe putting a collar or something on Godzilla might be a good idea.
Just put a couple sensors in the ocean, and when anything as big as a fucking skyscraper comes through, you know it's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a collar.
But then it was weird, because when they were in the boat, they did know, he shifted his pathway. Oh, now you know.
Yeah, if he's within smelling distance, they have some kind of like device that smells Godzilla, but he's got to get real close. I think that's how they.
I'm down. Maybe the next film, Kayla, will have like a collar and some bracelets and be like real gothic.
Yeah.
And be like the side of Godzilla you've never seen before.
Yeah.
They need to get Batman or something. What's the first thing Batman always does when like a villain is leaving? Throws one of those little devices on him.
Yeah.
He just tosses it right on their heel or something, or on the underside of their vehicle. Boom! Right on the scale. Right on Godzilla's scale. Throw a little tracking device, and you know where the fuck Godzilla is.
You're absolutely right, Kelly. They can control Kong, but they can't do anything about Godzilla. It doesn't make sense. Okay. But we don't go in these movies for making sense, do we? We just go in it for the nice.
I will say, it looked really good, but I do wish Godzilla's head was bigger.
Godzilla had a weirdly small head, right? It was. I mean, maybe he always has.
Bigger. It just was like small.
I feel like old school, like when you see the black and white Godzillas and stuff like that. I feel like he did have a fairly large size head.
Yeah. He looks scary though. Like I saw him when he's just staring at you for like fucking like a minute. You're like, damn, that's kind of frightening.
I think they were going for like, I guess, like a snake or reptile kind of like you think of a lot of those animals like that. They have kind of a smaller head, beady eyes, that kind of thing. But
But
Yeah, he was I wouldn't fuck with him.
I give it a 7 out of 10. All right, that's my official score for that movie. 7 out of 10.
What'd you think, Caleb?
I'll do a 6.
6. I think I'm at a 7 too. I think my mother actually texted me. She's like, "I know you watched Godzilla vs Kong. You wouldn't stay away from that movie. What did you think?" And I think that's what I told her. I said a 7. I think I said like, it was
She'd
weird.
probably like this movie.
She might, but she might.
She likes action movies.
I guess it was a little disappointing because I really liked Skull Island, Kong Skull Island, the second movie in this. And I was, I don't know, just hoping for more of that, I guess. That was a pretty straightforward action movie, I feel, definitely compared to this. But yeah, 7, 6, I think that's reasonable. It's a fun time.
I think we'll get a Godzilla movie next time, and hopefully they'll kind of do more Skull Island, because we had King of the Monsters was Godzilla, Skull Island was King Kong, and this was kind of pretty much a Kong flick, I'll be honest with you.
It said it's Godzilla.
Yeah, with a cameo Godzilla. Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a Kong movie, but it specifically says that it's in the Godzilla series.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, I guess we did have Mecha Godzilla too, so...
Yeah, but so that's Godzilla vs. Kong. I would recommend it, right? I think that's our general thing.
It's fun to talk about.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. I feel like check it out if you got HBO Max. I bet you it's pretty solid in a theater too. Like if you feel comfortable heading out, mask up, stay distance, all that, be safe. But I feel like it.
Yeah,
if you want to check it out in IMAX
big
or
screen.
something.
Yeah, can you imagine seeing that in IMAX? How cool that would be.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Feeling small, feeling small as shit when they're fighting. That crazy.
Yeah. Well, so let's wrap it up, guys. And so this has been episode 18 of The Machine of Nonsense. We ask you to please subscribe, tell your friends, interact with our social media. Let us know what you thought of Godzilla vs. Kong. Ryan made some nice, fun artwork. So, check that out. That's on our Facebook page. And, like us on Facebook if you haven't already. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. And as I always say, if you want to be a part of a future episode, leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/machineofnonsense. I'll put you on a future episode. You can say whatever you want. Doesn't matter. I'll put you on. You should do that. So, episode 18, it's in the books. This has been Eric. This has been The Machine of Nonsense. Ryan was here. Kayla was here. Let's say bye, guys.
Bye.